No. Hi, I missed you. It's only been a week, not even maybe less. I'm really excited because this week we're gonna go talk about another throwback of my career series. And so this week we're gonna talk about how I got my equity card at 16, 17, I think it was 17. This is how I got my equity card at 17 years old. All right, I'm really excited. In my last video, I talked about West Side Story and how that was my first professional show, my first big gig. And I'm telling you, God is so good. Like, maybe 2 weeks after the show had ended, I went back to school. I was like, okay, I'm a regular student again. And then on my high school, they had like this bulletin board where they put up auditions and like notes and stuff about theater. And I guess we looked at it pretty often because that's also where like they put up auditions, where they put up like cast lists and everything. So I looked at the list and I saw an audition for a show called Runaways. Never heard of the show before. At this point, I'm still a really theater newbie. And so I read kind of the description and what kind of kids they were looking for. It was like, you know, a really cool like rock show. We're looking for real individual people. I think it also kind of mentioned about like Spanish speaking, and I was like, perfect, like I can totally audition for this. This audition was huge. It was at Talented Unlimited High School, and this is also one of those like well-known theater arts schools. And I remember walking into the building and the auditorium was just packed with kids. I mean, hundreds of kids, like 400 kids. And I was like, what am I getting myself into? You know, my first audition for West Side Story, I only had to deal with maybe like 100 or 200, and there were just double that. And I was just like, all right. I remember I was really nervous. So I think I saved my number if I can find it. So I had a number, I think it was like 200 something. And they had kind of structured it in a way that I've never like done an audition before. So I think the first audition I had that same day, the casting directors were stationed in 2 different rooms in the building. So I went into the first room and I realized that this was like the initial room where they were doing like cuts right away. Like if you didn't get past this first room, they weren't gonna see you in the next room, right? So in this first room, I remember like it was yesterday. In this first room, I had a younger black lady who was in the room with someone else, and I had to sing my song. I was struggling to pick a song. Like at this time, like I said, I'm a newbie. I have no book. I didn't even know how to print out sheet music. I mean, it was bad. And I think I ended up picking This Is a Man's World. I don't remember how I sang that song, but I think I sang it once, and she was like, do it again. She probably gave me notes, and I sang it again. And I remember I was in it. I remember I was in the song. I was like, this is a man's world. I was like in it, and I guess she liked it because she let me go to round 2, and then I think I had to wait for a bit, and then I got online for the second room, and the second room is where the director was in, and a lot of other like creative team. So I got into the second room, and I walked in, and this is when I think we had to sing again, and then we had to do monologues, or maybe we just had to do monologues. And it was a monologue from the show. We didn't have to have it memorized. And they gave us like 3 to 4 options. While I was waiting on the line, I remember this like it was yesterday. There was this younger girl, like much younger than me. Her book of repertoires was like this big. I mean, she had her headshot in the middle. You open it up, it's in order, alphabetical order. Tons of music. I was like, and she was so much younger than me, so it was just crazy. So I went in, I did my monologue. I remember thinking that the director was so cool. He was really interactive with us. He was really he wasn't just trying to like listen and then like kick us out. Like he was in it. And I think he was like that with every student. And then at the end, he asked me if I knew Spanish, because I think I probably wrote it in my audition paper. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, okay, so tell me what you're gonna do when you leave here. In Spanish. And I remember I made them laugh, so I guess that was funny. I remember I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna eat some rice. Like, I'm really excited to eat because I'm starving. I was like, I'm gonna eat some arroz con gandula, mi aguacate, mi salada on the side, you know, with my little drink. I remember I was just hilarious, and they loved it. And then after that, I remember leaving, and I was like, this was really good. And then that same day, I got a paper that says that they wanted me back for callback the very next day. And I left that day just feeling really grateful. And I remember just learning so much from the casting and creative team. Like I love auditions where it's a process. Like they want to work with you. And I usually I do better in those kind of auditions as well, where I don't feel like I'm on the chopping block. I guess everyone does. And so the next day, gosh, I love this. The next day we had like the movement dance audition. And you know, that's my forte. So I was like, I'm booking this. That's it. It was basically improv the whole time. I think they might have taught us like a little like 8 count, but the rest was improv. And you know me, I'm like, at this point, I'm like, I guess I know what theater dancing is. So I was like, da, 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 like really smiley and just like kick, but mine, like, woo, like lots of fun. And the director stopped the audition, ran onto the stage, pulled me aside and was like, I want you to dance like you've never taken a dance class before. Like you've never ever in your entire life have taken one dance class. And I was like, I remember I was thinking, why? Like in my head, I was like what? Like I've never been asked to do that in an audition before. Like, don't you want to see that I'm capable and that I'm really good? And truthfully, I just told him, okay. And then I saw everyone staring at me, and so we did it again, and this time I let loose. I wasn't worrying about technique or anything. I was just having fun, and I was going crazy. And then I just remember he made like, you know, like a, okay, good. And that same day or the next day, I got an email saying that I got in. It was crazy. So this is only the second time, right? And I mean, this show, wow, like where do I begin? I can literally talk about this forever. Truly can talk about this forever. So I'm gonna try and shorten it. So after that, the whole rehearsal started, I think, during the summer. And I mean, in the show, there were kids who had already been on Broadway, maybe like 6, 7 kids that have been on Broadway, are like huge in the theater world. They've done like TV shows. I mean, Sophia Ann Caruso was in it at that time. She was currently on Broadway. There were younger kids who were in Matilda, who were in Anne. I mean, just like crazy talent. And then there were kids like me on the other side who have never done anything professional in their entire lives. There were a couple that went to Talented Unlimited, a couple of kids who went to PBS. So the same schools that, you know, there's always kids who are killing the game. I think we had 2 weeks prior to auditions where they just wanted us to spend time together. And so, I mean, we spent time together. We researched the show. We researched the history the show was written. I mean, it was a big deal because Runaways is a deep show and the content is deep. It's talking about runaway kids. It's talking about addiction. It's talking about abuse, like real deep stuff and the state of the world and society, but through the eyes of children. And so I remember knowing that they were stressing that everyone involved, we needed to be in our A game. We needed to be serious about the material. And so those 2 weeks was preparing us for that. Also, we only had 2 weeks to do the show, to learn the show, which is also another thing. I mean, the time frame was like back to back to back. Like we had no time. It was like we were constantly in a room working on something. There was also a hard of hearing friend and cast member who I love, Ren. I love you so much. And just the whole show was just filled with amazing kids, and I was just so grateful to be a part of it. The whole rehearsal process, everyone had some sort of solo. There was a lot of dancing involved, a lot of monologues. A lot of people had at least one monologue. They were like singing in Spanish, monologues in Spanish, monologues in sign language. I mean, this show is incredible. I've never heard of it before, but it had changed my life, and I've learned so much about it. So the creative team was Sam Pinkleton. He directed a whole bunch of Broadway shows. He's a teaching artist as well, with colleges all over the country. Ani Taj was the choreographer. She was also on Broadway. There was other like assistant directors like Nikki Douglas, and just so many other people, creative directors involved that were amazing, who are my mentors to this day. I love them so much. It's crazy because they saw me as like a 17, 16-year-old kid to now a 21-year-old, and I've worked with them after the fact as well. Runaways really inspired me because it included theater and also reflected the world that we were currently living in. And I remember it really sparked, you know, the activist in me and the theater artist in me, also being an activist. And it just combined all my favorite things into one show, and it was incredible. 2 weeks to learn the show and get it on its feet, and it was at the New York City Center. So, how I got my equity card. So technically this was an off-Broadway show, and I remember we came in for like our serious meeting before rehearsal started one day, and my friend in the show, he was like, we're gonna get our equity cards. And I was like, no we're not. Like, I remember being so like persistent that I was like, there's no way that we're getting our equity cards. I don't know, I just didn't think, it didn't seem, I mean, we're all children, and I'm like, why are they gonna give equity cards to children? We went into the Actors Equity meeting, we got our contracts so that we can sign, so we, you know, we were seeing how much we were getting paid and everything, and then they told us, you have the option today to get your equity card. And I was like, at that time I kind of knew what it was, but I still didn't really have much I really didn't know what weight it had. And I looked at my friend, I remember he was like, I was like, okay, I guess we're getting our if we wanted to. I know a friend who decided not to get it, and I don't think he regrets that decision. It took me a month or two, or even it took me a while to finally decide if I wanted my equity card. I remember I had a talk with my acting teacher, and he was stressing me not to get it. And at that point I took it very personally, and I took it as him saying that I'm not capable of booking jobs in the future if I got my equity card. His argument was that I was too young, so I couldn't do non-ec work, and I just didn't understand at the time, and I took it really personally. But as I got older, I realized he's not wrong. Like, I'm really young, and getting that card means that I'm not allowed to do non-ec work without permission, and it just made things more complicated. And he was thinking more long-term, and I was thinking long-term too. My concern was that if I don't get it now, well, when will I get another opportunity to get my card? Because I also knew that it was difficult to get it. It wasn't just an easy thing that they give away. And so at the end of the day, I decided to get it, which was, I don't regret my decision. And I was really young, but I think it was the right thing to do in my path. My Runaways family is a family. We are still in contact till today. I mean, we are inseparable. Like, I can't even describe. For other people who may be watching, if you're in the theater world, you all have that one show where it's like, I gained so many friends, I got so close, and that Runaways is that to me. Runaways is that show where I met a family, and we will never not be close. They will always have a special place in my heart, and vice versa. And we actually even got the chance to work many years after that, so I'm going to talk about that in another video. But this was definitely, West Side Story was the start of experiencing and knowing that I wanted to do theater, and this show kind of solidified that for me. I made so many great connections. I got my equity card. I gained a lot of true friendships and family members, really. And I learned a lot more about the industry. Only 2 years before I graduated high school. Being in the show was the first time that I learned the process of learning music, memorizing harmonies. I mean, I still struggle at that, and I went to school for theater, but it was the first time that I was able to learn the techniques of learning to be in a musical and how hard it was. So it also introduced me to really leaning in more towards my voice, which is something I've always been insecure about. It was just a good rude awakening in a good way. So more about my equity card. Because I got it at such a young age, I do think in some circumstances, there was recently something where I know I didn't get it because I was really young, the youngest like equity member, I guess, who auditioned. And you know, regional theaters, they don't want to have to hire you. They don't want to hire equity members unless, you know, they're top tier. I'm not top tier. So I definitely see it like biting me right now in certain ways, but in other ways it's really beneficial. being able to have auditions and get seen is not an awful thing. It's definitely an up. So I don't regret it, but there were pros and cons. Right now, theater and Broadway is closed down, so we'll see. I mean, thinking about it now and going back to when auditions are going to start, I do believe that having my equity card is going to benefit me, because there are just going to be so many restrictions based on how much people can be in the audition room, how many equity members can even be seen. So if I was non-equity, probably would be hating my life right now. No offense if you're non-equity, you're gonna be fine. I'm sure you'll be fine. But I definitely am in a good spot right now having my card. I think we'll see. Who knows what's gonna happen when auditions start up again in person. Yeah, this is about Runaways and how I got my equity card. If you have any questions, please write them down and comment below. I would love to answer any questions you have about your equity card and about auditioning and anything. I want to answer your questions. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next week. Love you. Bye.
Why does freedom make us empty, scared, and belligerent? Yeah. Instead of harmonious and understanding like they said.
Cans. Is that what you did, Mr. Gauguin?
Fairy tales come true. Put him on a moped. Give him some gloves and a helmet. Find me a hero.
Don't be no meatball.
To boys and girls have secret with manhood and womanhood who have to pry open too soon because mothers or fathers die or kill themselves according to the laws of angry, random, grown-up gods. To boys and girls weeping, now half man, half woman because you wish you'd met your parents.